Session 4 of Agent Launch Lab is upon us. I can't even believe it. This is flying by, and I hope you guys are loving it, that you're learning things, that you've got stuff nuggets already that you can apply to your business. I would love it if you would put in the chat, tell me what you've enjoyed the most so far about this Agent Launch Lab series. Give me your feedback, and we're about to get into it, y'all. So let's get to it. Hey, before we dive into the slides, whoopsies, hold on. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, I would like to know, first of all, before we get into our training today, who here has been doing their homework? Who has talked to people over this last week? Anybody? Anybody? You've been talking to people about real estate, you've been sending messages, phone calls, talking to the coffee shop barista, whatever it is, put in the chat, put me if that's you, if you've been doing your thing. And then second thing is I would love to know who here has been talking to people this week, but then also kind of like don't know what to say next. No judgment. We've all been there. Who feels this pain? We're like, oh crap. They said they might be interested in something. What do I do now? Yeah. Well, you're in the right place because that's what we're going to talk about today. It's time to master the skills that actually allow you to serve clients and get into business. We've talked about how to plan out your financials. We've talked about how to organize your database. Now we need to talk about how to actually get business, talk to people, and do some converting. So, session one, as you guys know, here, I'll just go ahead and share my slides because we're about to dive in, y'all. It's going to be a fun morning. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Okay. So, session one, just for a little recap, we talked about mindset. Session two, we talked about your numbers. Session three, we talked about conversations, how to start having those conversations. And by the way, the recording for session three was sent out. I apologize for anybody that didn't get it. I sent it out last week, but I heard from a few people that they didn't get it, so I resent it today. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. And then today, session four, we're going to be talking about conversion, meaning how to like go from a conversation to an appointment, and consistency, how to build that momentum. Because if you remember, we've talked about this a lot. Building real estate business is so much. Your superpower is in consistency. It's in the power of momentum. So today we're going to focus on tying the habits and skills together to bring you the income that you want. You will leave today. My goal is you're going to leave today with conversation confidence, a daily schedule, and a clear path to setting appointments. Are you ready? If you're ready, if you're excited, put ready in the chat. I want to hear from you because we're about to get going. We're going to go ahead and turn conversations into appointments and appointments into clients. Let's go, right? So, without further ado, here goes session four, build habits and skills for success. Reminder, this is straight out of our handy dandy book, The Rookie Real Estate Agent, which is your absolute blueprint for how to build a killer business as a brand new agent. This focuses today on chapters 8 through 10. If you don't have the book, get it. You can get it on Amazon. It's not expensive. Get a highlighter. It is your guide. Here's what I want you to think about today as we're talking through everything. Let me let that person in from the waiting room. Okay, cool. Confidence is so important, but confidence, you guys, does not come from talent. It comes from practice. And this is going to sound like such a silly comparison, but it's so true. Maybe it won't sound silly to you. It makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, so my little boy, he's learning how to ride a bike right now without training wheels, right? And if you've ever helped a kid, or if you remember when you were a kid trying to learn how to ride a bike without training wheels, who remembers like when you're first doing that, you're scared to death, right? Whoever's helping you on the back of your bike, you're like, don't let go, don't let go. You fall out a few times, you're like, I can't do it. Put my training wheels back on. I don't ever want to ride a bike. We rationalize, right? We're like, I don't need to ride a bike. I'll just walk, right? We make excuses. We avoid it. And then one day something clicks and we start riding, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, I can ride a bike. And all of a sudden, you're a little bit more confident than you were the day before. And next thing you know, you're riding all over your neighborhood and you love your bike. You're using it all the time. And you are a biker, right? Well, it's the same thing with real estate. And the confidence level that you had when you learned how to ride your bike and were cruising all over your neighborhood, you're totally confident in how to ride a bike, right? But you didn't become confident. Like when you decided you wanted to ride a bike, your parents or whoever was teaching you how to ride a bike didn't sit you down and be like, okay, we're going to affirm ourselves and we're going to be confident. Until you're confident, you can't ride that bike. No, whoever was teaching you how to ride the bike, it was essentially like, you got to do it scared, right? You got to do it scared. Feel if you're doing it anyway. Don't think about it. We're just going to do it. If you fall down, you get back up. And every time you would make progress, you would get a little bit more confident. It's the exact same thing with our business, right? You're not, if you're waiting to build your business till you feel confident as a real estate agent, you're going to be waiting forever. Because guess what? The only way to become confident is to just start doing trial and error. You don't have to know everything. You're not ever going to know everything. And the more that you just start doing, the more confident you become, the more mistakes you make, the more you learn and get better over time. You've got to release the tendency to want to be perfect, to want to know everything. Sometimes this is really hard when real estate is a second career for you. Maybe you've been successful in something else in your life. And now here you are in real estate, and it can feel really uncomfortable to go back to that newbie place where you don't feel confident and you don't feel like you know what you're doing, right? And so I really want to just really encourage you to embrace that today, that you're not going to feel confident right away, and that is okay. And the only way to get good at this thing is to just start doing. So we don't wait till we feel great. We just don't think about it, just do it. That's your mantra in real estate. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Don't think about it, just do it. You'll look at that phone, you want to throw up before you call someone. Don't think about it, just do it. Just start dialing the numbers. Earlier this morning before I got on this Zoom, I was doing my lead gen. And there's people on there where I was like, oh gosh, I haven't talked to them in like 10 years. Don't think about it, just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. And I can't tell you, I had several people randomly, I sent out some text messages and several people responded to me that I was like, oh, they weren't mad that I texted them. They weren't like, who are you? Right? They were just like, oh my gosh. One of them literally said, I'm so glad you messaged me, and was filling me all in on all the stuff going on in their life. You just never know, right? So that's the first thing I want you to be thinking about today is don't think about it, just do it. We're going to build some confidence today. We're going to grow your business. Whoops. There we go. Oh my goodness. Come on. There we go. Okay, so the big idea today, and I kind of talked about this already, is time to start mastering the skills that will allow you to offer the best service to your clients, whether that's having meaningful conversations or being able to discuss the full value of you offer at an appointment. To gain these skills, you'll need to set habits for success that help structure your activities and your days, keeping you on track for your financial goals and big why. The goal is to have a game plan for your time, the confidence you need to close an appointment, and the conversation frameworks to help you get a signed agreement and start serving. So that is what we are going to do. The first thing we're going to talk about today is practice role play and conversations. Role play and conversations. So I don't know about y'all, but this felt super weird to me when I first heard about this. I was like, what are we doing? But it is so important. Now, why do we say practice conversations? Here's what I want you to think about. Stop trying to memorize scripts. That's not what we're doing here. You guys, conversations are alive. You are a human being. You're talking to another human being. If you are a robot, especially in the age of AI, people are not interested. So your job is to educate, not manipulate, to educate. And remember that building confidence and taking action is always stronger than procrastination or perfection. So, practicing conversations builds experience with having technical, emotional, and strategic conversations with clients, knowing what to say next when they say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you messaged me. We're actually whatever the thing is, right? And when we're confident, we know what to say and we can focus on the listening. So that's why you've got to get into action and build confidence, because it helps you stop obsessing and worrying about what do I say next and start thinking about actually what the person is saying. So we're going to dive right into the frameworks. There's basically 3 conversation frameworks that we're going to talk about today in order to help you grow your business. Okay. The first one, and we put acronyms with these because it makes it super easy to remember throughout your whole life. And it's the funniest thing we joke about as experienced agents. Talk to experienced agents and you'll be like, oh, do you remember Ford? Do you remember LPMAMA? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, we use it every day, whether we call it this or not. So here's the Ford framework. And by the way, you're going to get handouts for all of these things too. The Ford framework builds trust and connection. And essentially, it helps you walk through universal topics that can be brought up in any situation. Here's the thing that I think is really important to think about when you're lead generating, when you're calling through your database, when you're starting conversations with people. And I talked about this a little bit on the last session, so I just want to reiterate it. Your job, like you don't have to be a billboard for real estate, right? Your job is not to be like, hi, Mary, I just wanted to reach out to you today to let you know I'm available if you know someone that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Like you can say it once, right? And then after that, people know you're in real estate and you don't even have to bring it up, and they will bring it up and they will talk to you about it. And so that's what this is all about, is essentially thinking about when you show up to genuinely care about other people, um, that value connects them to you, and then they will ask about what you have going on, right? So what you're going to focus on when you talk to people in it doesn't have to be in this order, but it's a great order to do. And I also want to encourage you when you see these conversation frameworks, you don't have to be like a robot and be like, I have to talk about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. But like as the conversation goes on, this is a great guide so that you don't get stuck. Because what I find happens a lot with agents when they're new to lead generation is we call people or we talk to people and we don't know how to move the conversation forward to get to anything that could potentially be productive. So this helps you to do that. So, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. This is how you stop sounding like a salesperson and start sounding like a human. This might sound like, okay, for example, I'm going to tell you guys what I sent, this text message that I sent this morning. Okay, so it just said, um, okay, whoops, okay, sorry, wrong one. Okay, so I said, Hi, Angela, it's Lori. It's been forever and I've missed staying in touch with you. I'm so excited to be back working closely with Josh, helping real estate clients and friends buy, sell, and invest in real estate. How have you been? How's life? How's the family? And that's all that I said. So I started with F, Ford, right? The family. So who lives in their household? What type of accommodations? You're not asking who lives in your household, right? You're just asking, how's life? How's the family? They're going to tell you. Like I just had somebody respond earlier. They was like, oh my gosh, we had a baby. Everything's been going fantastically, right? So that is a great place to start. Then they're going to say something back to you, and then they will probably ask you a question, right? How have you been? And then you can say, oh my gosh, between life and real estate, things have been busy and so fun. Hey, what do you do for work these days? Right. So you're just leading through. These are great guys to help you remember what to talk to people about. Right. And then they will naturally ask you about you. And then you will start talking about real estate. Make sense? Okay, the next framework that you want to think about, this is so Ford, I want you to think about this framework is to help you with building the relationships, right? Now, as you're talking to someone, the next framework that you want to learn in real estate is called LPMAMA, and this is what we call the qualifier, okay? This is your qualifier. And so once you're talking to somebody using the Ford method and they bring up, I've actually been thinking about maybe buying or selling or whatever the thing is, they bring up real estate and that maybe they're thinking about doing something in whatever time frame. This is your guide to help you qualify that person as an actual lead or figure out like, are they ready now? Are they ready in 6 months? Do they have an agent already without like interrogating them? So we use this when someone's shown interest and it helps you be clear on who you can work with. Obviously, it can work with sellers or buyers. So if someone's like, yeah, it's funny, we actually have been thinking about, you know, buying, I might say, oh, well, that's so exciting. Tell me a little bit more. What are you guys looking for? Like, do you have a specific location? Let them talk. Okay, great. What type of price point are you looking in? Okay, great. Tell me what's motivating you to sell. Now, you don't have to say what's motivating you. You might say, what's changing your life? Or is there a reason why you guys are thinking about buying right now? And just learn about if they're like, oh, well, we're getting married, we're having a baby, we've paid off all this debt. Like, what is the reason? Motivation is super important because if you can get clear on their motivation, you can get clear on how, like, what their sense of urgency is and if they're ready right now or if you need to nurture them for a year. But you don't want to just be like, what's your motivation, right? Like you just want to ask questions to find out what is driving that decision. What's making you want to buy or sell right now? Do you have an agent you're already working with? Because I'd love to help you. Um, and if they say, well, we know 5 people, but we haven't talked to anybody yet, then that's a great opportunity to say, great, let's go ahead and schedule an appointment. And I can come over and we can chat about what to do. Mortgage, you can ask them, have you already talked to a lender or do you need help getting connected with one? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and schedule a time to meet on Zoom or over coffee and we'll talk about everything. So this is how you move from conversation to opportunity. Now, the next framework you're going to embrace in your business is called Feel, Felt, Found. And this is essentially objection handling. So it's used when somebody maybe has a misconception about real estate and you want to help them move past that misconception or that objection, um, and help them move forward. Now, here's what I want you to think about with feel, felt, found, because this can be used well or not well. Remember, I don't know if you remember in one of our last sessions, we talked about how important it is that you are shining the light on your client, right? When you're working with a potential client, it is not about you. When you show up to serve other people and make it completely all about them, that's when people feel seen, heard, supported, and want to help you or want to work with you, right? And so what you don't want to say when someone says, "Oh gosh, yeah, well, we were thinking about buying, but we think we might wait until the interest rates change or home prices get better." Sometimes what people have a tendency to say here is they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I know how you feel. I felt that way too. And what I found is blah 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 blah." The problem with that is you just turned the whole thing into being about you. And now they're no longer listening. So you have to use this approach in a way that demonstrates that you actually understand how they are thinking and that you are serving them. So you might say, if someone's like, yeah, well, we're just waiting for home prices to get a little bit better and interest rates to go down. You might say, oh my goodness, I understand how you feel. You probably have felt a little overwhelmed with how crazy the real estate cycle has been. And a lot of other people have felt that way too. Other people that I've worked with have also felt. So instead of saying I felt that way, you're saying other people have felt that way too. And here's the solution that they found. They found that even though they wanted an interest rate that's 5.5%, they decided to buy now when interest rates are 6.3%, because they know that home prices are going to continue to go up over the next several years, and that when that interest rates gets lower, they can refinance. But they didn't want to actually have to pay more for the house, and wanted to start building that equity. Does that make sense to you? So that's an example of how you use it. You're helping them move through that concern they have without feeling pushy. You're not saying, oh my gosh, don't worry about blah, blah, blah. You can do this anyways. You're helping them realize they're not alone and that you are helping other people work through the same things that they are. You're demonstrating that I'm an expert and I'm already helping other people get the same results you want. Now, if you're brand new and you're like, yeah, but I haven't helped anyone, you can just say, it's essentially like you're demonstrating that your brokerage has helped a lot of other people. Use other people's success as a tool, right? So that could look like, oh my gosh, I know how you feel. That can be a very normal concern in the way the market is right now. I'll tell you what, a lot of other people have felt that way. A lot of other clients that have worked with our brokerage, and here's what they have found. So you just change it, worked with me to worked with our brokerage. That makes sense? And you're being honest. You really do have to listen because sometimes it really isn't the right time for someone, but you won't know that until you talk through these points. What do you guys think about that? Now, if we were in person, this is where I would say, okay, it's time to role play, pick a partner, let's practice. But it's a little hard to do that on Zoom. So we're not going to do that today. But I want to challenge you to do this with your spouse, your roommate, your friend, real estate buddy, your dog, whoever. But start practicing these because when you start practicing Forward, LP Mama, and Fill Felt Found, it just starts to feel more natural. Because remember, these are conversations that you're having. And these are just really great basic frameworks to put in your brain to just help you stay on track, right? The goal is we're keeping the train on the tracks and we're getting you where you need to go, right? You're not reading a script, you're not a robot. You are listening and using these as guides. That makes sense? And just remember when you start practicing this, and especially when you start doing it with real people for the first time, it will feel uncomfortable. And that is okay. That's how you know that it's working. Just like when you build muscles at a gym, right? That's how you know that it's working because your muscles are sore. Same story. Conversation frameworks are considered a skill in real estate that means that they can be practiced and made better. None of us got started in real estate. We're like, oh yeah, I know how to talk to everyone. I know everything about real estate. No, every top agent you meet had to learn these same things and practice them in order to get good. Anything you ever want to do in life, if it's worth having, it's worth working for. And this is what it takes. So think about your conversations. Do you think there's something that you can improve on? And if so, what is it? And I would love for you guys to put in the chat, why is listening more important than speaking when consulting with a client? I've kind of told you this already. So I'd love to hear if you guys caught that or if you have other thoughts. Why is listening more important than speaking when you're consulting with a client? Put it in the chat. Let's hear what you have to say. In fact, I'm going to grab the chat and see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Yes. Oh, Jenna said I literally just texted someone telling them I need their help practicing conversations. Yeah, Jenna. I love that. I find it easier to make phone calls when I remind myself they can't see me. That is exactly right. I love that. Listening is absorbing their needs and showing them what you're doing, showing what you're doing is for them. Absolutely, Joey. That is exactly right. You learn so much from listening. That's right. And you have to, here's one tip with listening, guys, too. Remember, um, two ears, one mouth. So that's on purpose. We're supposed to listen, but if you're listening and then thinking about what you're going to say next, you're not actually hearing them. So really be present with someone, listen, and then it's okay to pause for a minute and then reply, right? Helps you get more in touch with what your client needs. Absolutely. So many reasons, keeps the conversation about them, learning what's important to them. 100%. You guys are pros. I love it. Okay, let's keep it rolling. The next thing we're going to talk about is building success habits. Here's the thing. 99% of the time, sorry about my arm. I'm trying to fix something in the side here of my laptop. 99% of the time, you don't need more motivation. You need structure. And that sounds weird. I know, because if you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, which I know you do because you launched a real estate business. Uh-oh, hold on. Someone's unmuted. Let me fix that real quick. Oh, never mind. They're muted again. I don't know who it was. Okay. If you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, which I know you do because you are in real estate, you probably, a part of you got into real estate so that you could have freedom and flexibility. You don't want to have a boss and have someone else telling you what to do, right? And that's great. You're your own boss. That means you control your schedule. However, one of the most powerful things that I ever learned when it came to working for myself was that if you want to get paid like a business, you have to treat your business like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. But y'all, the reality is most hobbies cost you money. They don't make you money. And if you work really hard for somebody else, why would you not work really hard for yourself? Sometimes I find it to be a really interesting juxtaposition is people, you know, like when you have a regular job, a W-2 job, like you'll go to work if you have a bad day, if you're tired, if you have a headache, like whatever, you still show up and do your job because you don't want to get fired. But then we work for ourselves and all of a sudden we're like, oh, you know what? I just, I'm just going to do the laundry today, or I'm just not feeling it today. I'm just going to, I've got a headache. I'm going to take it easy. And all of a sudden we're like, why am I not making the money I want to make? You get out of, when you work for yourself, you get out of your business what you put into it. It really is very directly proportional. And so you do have to structure your business and your schedule for success. The beauty of it is when you start to structure your schedule for success and make sure you're working intentionally with your time, everything starts to click and work for you and your business actually becomes easier. It's really interesting that scheduling your business, like highly scheduling and planning out your days for what you're doing with your work time, it will make you dramatically more productive and that productivity will make you dramatically more free in your time and schedule for the time that you're not working. You won't feel stressed thinking like, oh gosh, I got all the stuff I got to do for work because you were productive during the time that you set aside for work. That makes sense. So I want you to think habits create results. Consistency always beats intensity. I don't care if you have one week where you just blitz and go crazy. It really doesn't matter. What matters more, what's more powerful than a 1 week blitz where you just work 24/7 is even something as small as I'm just going to work every single day for 2 hours. 6 months later, you will see more momentum from every single day for 2 hours, focused, uninterrupted, than 1 week where you did a bunch and then dropped off for 3 weeks. It truly, truly, truly is so important. Your business, I make this analogy a lot, but like think about your business. Okay, let's think about like like an old-timey water pump. Like if there's a well outside, and there's a little hand pump thing to get the water out of the well. When you're first starting a business, think about it like you've got to get the water out of the well, right? So here's your little hand pump, and you got to just pump, 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 pump to get that water going. And you cannot stop. You have to just like methodically and consistently pump that handle in order for water to come out. If you pump it a little bit and then stop, all the water just goes back down. You have to keep starting over again. However, once the water starts coming out of the water pump, you still have to keep pumping, but it doesn't have to be quite as intense as at first, where you had to be like pumping like crazy. And the water's coming out, and you've got this consistent flow. It's the same thing in your business. It's going to be intense at first. You got to put a lot of it consistent and abundant energy into your business to get the water flowing. And once it's flowing, you're not going to stop, right? You're going to consistently continue pumping the pump, right? It's called priming the pump, and then the water comes out, and then you're going to keep pumping the handle in order to get the water, the business, aka the water, to keep flowing. But then you got a really consistent rhythm. Okay. So that's what you want to think about. One thing that really helped me when I was a new entrepreneur was the understanding of income producing activities, meaning the things on your calendar, are they things that are actually directly making you money? And if they are, fantastic. You're doing great stuff with your time. But it's very easy as an entrepreneur to get sucked into doing things all day long that don't actually make you money and don't actually move you forward, but feel fun or feel like kind of make you feel busy. And next thing you know, you're going to wake up and be like, oh, I don't have anything going on, even though I felt really busy. And we don't want you to be there. So income producing activities is what we're going to focus on. Once you establish that consistency, habits work for you. And isn't that just lovely? Lovely, lovely. So we're going to talk about building success habits. And the first one we're going to talk about is time blocking. So what is time blocking? Essentially, it just means you're taking your calendar and you are assigning specific income producing activities, things that make you money, to specific times on your calendar. Essentially, to say you're scheduling your day intentionally, you're making appointments with yourself. That's essentially what you're doing. You're literally blocking the time off on your calendar. And you want to live like your success depends on it because it does. So you treat these times like actual appointments. So if you know, just as an example, every day, so for me, from every day from 9 to 11, it's lead generation time. And that I look at my calendar and I recognize it is my boss, essentially. Your calendar is your boss. You have to treat it that way. Just like if you're a boss at your regular job was like, oh, you have to sweep the floor every day from 9 to 9:30 if you want to have a job here. Then guess what you would do from 9 to 9:30 every day? You would sweep the floor, right? And if you didn't, you'd have a talk with your boss and, it might not go great. Same thing with you, right? So it's one of the biggest challenges of entrepreneurship, right? Is that people tend to think that when you're an entrepreneur, that you're just available and you can babysit for them or go to lunch or, hey, let's go to the gym every day at this time, blah, blah, blah. And it can be really hard because technically you can, right? We can rationalize with ourselves. It would be very easy. I could look at my calendar today and be like, ooh, 9 to 11. Well, somebody wants me to go to brunch. I can always just lead generate later at 2 o'clock today. And that might be true. But you know what happens 99% of the time when we do that? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. One of them, there's two things I want you to think about with time blocking is first of all, you have to honor it like it's your boss. And number two, there's something really powerful about getting the stuff done that makes you money, that moves the needle in the beginning part of your day. It's like the concept, if you ever read that book, Eat the Frog, I think is what it's called. I've never read the book, but I get the general concept, which is that you got to do the hard stuff first. That gives you a win for your day, and you always have the most energy in the morning, which means you have the strongest willpower, ability to overcome things that feel hard. As the day goes on and your energy drops and you get tired or you've done a lot, your willpower goes down, which is why it's very easy at the end of the day. We let ourselves off the hook with things. We say we'll do it tomorrow. All of a sudden we have a snack or whatever the thing is. And so I highly recommend that you block that time off on your calendar in the beginning of the day. Now, here's another thing that I did. I can't remember if we talked about this on another Zoom or not. So if I'm being redundant, apologies. But this is something that has dramatically impacted my business in the 20 something years I've been an entrepreneur, um, is treating my business like a business with my calendar. So one thing one of my mentors had me do once in order to grow my business further was I took a week at a glance. Really, it was essentially a spreadsheet where every little cell in the spreadsheet was 30 minutes of my day, right? And my philosophy is to build my life and my business with my faith first, my family second, and my career third. I would highly recommend that. I find it creates a lot of harmony and balance in your life. So what my mentor had me do was based on that priority. I went on my calendar, blank calendar for the week, and I basically created my ideal schedule. And I said, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of my like faith priorities and health priorities on there. What's important to me for how I want my days to look like. Then I'm going to put my family priorities on there. What's important to me in my days with my family. Once I had my faith, which also includes like myself, my well-being, my health, that stuff, and my family on there, then in the blank spaces, I blocked out the income producing activities that I was going to do every single day. And that became my boss. Now, any random blank spaces that there were, that's your flexible time. If you want to have flexible time, you can randomly go to lunch with somebody or whatever it is. You can have that on your calendar. You just have to prioritize and make sure, am I allowing enough time on my calendar to get the things done that I want to get done, that are important to me so that I can live, like build a life that's worth living, you know? And so I would highly recommend that you do that. So I guess I just kind of talked about this a little bit, but fuel yourself first. So one of the most powerful things you can do, this is the Rookie Real Estate Agent Energy Plan. This is actually taught based on Gary Keller's actual energy plan for how he finds he became like built this multi-billion dollar company. But it also has worked tremendously for me over the years. And I will tell you, this is not necessarily completely Keller Williams thing. This is just really how successful entrepreneurs build a business that is structured around loving their life, where they don't burn out and they build success. So you got to fuel yourself first. And this plan is designed to do all of these things before you start working on your business. So basically, before 9 a.m., all of these things are happening. You win the morning, you win the day. One thing I learned that is so true, you guys, is that you've got to think about when you're living life, really, not just running a business, is like, what can I control? And you've got to focus on controlling the controllables, which essentially the only thing we can ever control is ourselves, right? We can control our perspective, our actions, our mindset, our attitude. That's the only stuff we can control. Based on what we control, we can influence other things. Now, when you think about your day, I want you to think about that. Really, what can you control in your day? You can kind of control the bookends, which means you can control how you choose to start your day and you can control how you choose to end your day. You can't really control all the random things that are going to happen, right? Who's going to say what? Who's going to, call you, not call you, say yes or no, be nice, be rude, whatever it is, traffic, right? We cannot control those things, but we can control how we choose to start our day and end our day. And based on those, you can influence the rest of your day and you can influence your well-being. So that's why we say here, win the morning, win the day. When you start your day, these are the 5 things that top successful entrepreneurs and real estate agents prioritize in order to start the day on purpose and winning. Number 1, meditate and pray for spiritual energy. I can't tell you, like, it's so funny how simple that sounds, but it also makes a tremendous, tremendous difference. And it can look different for everyone. For me, I like to read my Bible in the morning. And then 3 days a week, I guess you might call it a prayer walk. I take a walk, but no music or podcast or anything. And it's literally like I talk to God while I'm walking. And it helps me tremendously. The other days I do yoga, which is also, I consider that a part of like my meditation and prayer time. Journal and reflect for mental energy. This does not have to take a long time, by the way. You can do these in 30 minutes. So don't think, oh my gosh, I need to get up at like 4 a.m. and do each of these for an hour. No, but you just need to prioritize them. So some days for me, meditation and prayer and journaling is 15 minutes because I don't have a lot of space. Other times it's an hour. So you've got to just kind of be flexible there. But journaling and reflecting, an easy way to think about this, if you're like, oh my gosh, somebody poked my eyeball out, journaling, blah. Or if, like, for me, journaling, I've always struggled with like consistency. This is going to sound so funny. And y'all, if any of you can relate to this, tell me if maybe I'm not alone. I don't know. I'm left-handed, okay? And I am assuming it's a left-handed person problem. I don't know. But I get writer's cramp really easy when I write. Like I don't like writing physically like with a pen and paper for long periods of time because my hand gets really sore. And so for a long time that kept me back. By the way, if you can relate, if you're a lefty, let me know. But it held me back from journaling for a long time because every time then I would think about it, I was like, had a bad correlation between journaling because I was like, ew, my hand's gonna hurt. I don't want to do it, right? And so I had to find a way that would work for me. So although, writing is the best way to do things because you use more muscles when you write, hence your brain remembers things more. I just journal on a note. I have like a private note thing on my phone and it's my journal and I journal on my phone every single day and it helps me tremendously without giving myself writer's cramp. So you have to figure out, how do you get out of your own way? So for me, in my phone journal, sometimes it literally looks like 2 minutes where I'm going to write 5 things I'm grateful for today and keep moving. Other times I have more time. That makes sense. Exercise and eat for physical energy. Again, let me. Here's the thing. Okay, so I've got 2 kids. Before having kids, me and my husband used to go to the gym before we started our work day every day for like a solid hour, right? And it was great. We loved it. Once I had kids, can any of y'all relate to this? It was just like not possible anymore. At least with small kids. Like it, the amount of work it took to try to bundle everybody up, get in the car, go to the gym, blah, 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 nap time, food time, especially with the little babies. It was next to impossible, but I really care about my health and I like to be physically active. So I was like, I've got to figure out a way to like keep this habit. And so literally I just made a little rule with myself 8 years ago that even if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to move my body. And there were many, many times over the past 8 years that my workout has been 5 minutes, or I'm going to do 50 squats before I start my day. I still count that because I'm still prioritizing. So that may not be perfect, but I guess that's the point, is I want to help you see that you don't have to be perfect in order to get great energy, but you do have to prioritize these things in order to have great energy. So figure out what that means for you. Eat. What you eat in the morning affects your energy throughout the day, your willpower, your determination, your clarity in your brain. So are you eating high protein, something clean in the morning, or are you eating a donut? You got to think about these things. How are you helping yourself have a successful business? These are ways that you equip yourself. Give your mind and body the tools that you need in order to be massively successful. Family time for emotional energy. And then 5 is planning and time blocking for business energy. Now, I will tell you, I try to have my time blocks already pre-done before I start my day. What I like to do every single day that helps me kind of get my brain in the game before I start moving, I've just got a notebook, right? Simple notebook, and just easy, just go get a spiral bound notebook. You don't need anything fancy. At the top of my notebook page every single day, I write out an affirmation. In case you're curious what mine is, mine says, I'm so blessed. Everything always works out for me. That's what I affirm every single day. And then I write out my goals. I write out, what's my goal for the year? What's my goal for this month? What's my goal for this week? And what are the 6 most important things that I'm going to get done today? Not the 12 most important, the 6 most important things that I'm going to get done today to move my business forward. And so that's what I'm doing as far as planning and time blocking. Then I've got a handy dandy, I'm reiterating, reminding my brain what's important to me. And then I've got a handy dandy little checklist, there you go, every day where I'm tracking my progress. Does that make sense? And this is how you celebrate your wins at the end of the day. This is how you can look back and be like, am I moving forward? Are things working? Especially when maybe you lead gen all week and didn't really feel like you got results. You can look back and see that you're doing the work that it takes and be able to trust the process. Does this make sense to you guys? Put in the chat. Let me know what you think about with what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. Build success habits. These are easy things to think about. Design your success. Early morning is for you. That's your early morning energy success plan. Now, I want to encourage you. Now, this is coming from someone who is a breast cancer survivor. I've always been very health and wellness conscious, but also now, honestly, I'm like a full force, kind of like obsessed with health and wellness and holistic living. So let me preface it with saying that. But here's one thing I learned. And this is just, okay. There's one thing that I think is broken in the entrepreneur world. And it is this broken mentality that I personally had for a really long time. I want to know if you guys have ever felt this way. And it was essentially sort of like the idea of like, you got to get up at, you meet these people that are like killing it. And they're like, oh, I get up at 3 a.m. and start my day. And blah, 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 blah. I take a cold plunge and then I do this. And then I drink this green juice. And it's all done by 5 a.m. I'm already winning. Or, that sort of thing. Or the other sort of mentality, I used to have a mentor that always was like, you can sleep when you're dead. Are you kidding me? Like almost to think like sleep is laziness. And if you're not getting up early and like grinding, you're not ever going to be successful. And so I honestly really adopted that mentality in some way, shape, or form, although I never got up at 3 a.m. But in some way, shape, or form, I adopted that mentality for probably 20 years. And I'm here to tell you that that is a lie. It is a lie. And I hate that that has been so seeded into our culture that like hustle and rush and grinding and, you know, work is more important than sleep and all these things. It's just not true. In fact, it is toxic. Did you know it is an actual statistical fact, number one, that you actually like the level of need to which you need to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night in order to have health in your body? It's like one of the top things that any health and wellness doctor would tell you more than anything else. So if you like are thinking, it's fine, I'll get 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night so I can get up and work out, you're actually hurting yourself. Your body needs healthy restorative sleep, which is 7 to 8 hours. More than that is damaging to your body, and less than that is damaging to your body. You've got to do that in order to have a clear, healthy mind and a clear, healthy body. Lack of sleep is extremely toxic and causes disease. It's directly linked to it. So I just really want to encourage you in that. Now, I feel your pain if you're like a mom like me and like my kids come in my room, they wake me up, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to start prioritizing that. So that's number one. So early morning is for you does not mean go to bed at midnight, get up at 5 a.m. and grind. That is so unhealthy. Do not do that. Decide what time am I going to prioritize going to bed so I can get up at a time that I can get stuff done. I know it's hard. Take a melatonin, y'all. Put an eye patch on your eyes, a mask, go to sleep. I just cannot tell you that enough. It's up there with stress. Did you know that stress is so toxic? They say that stress is uh what's the word, comparable? It's the equivalent of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, chronic stress in your life. That's why lack of sleep and stress are both strongly directly linked to chronic disease like cancer and other health and wellness issues. So that's why this is super important because, of course, it helps you minimize stress. And this is super important. But please, 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 early morning with the caveat that you will get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. I'm telling you that because I care about you. I hope you can receive that. Okay. Mornings are for working on your business. Remember, you can control the bookends. You can control the bookends. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Love it. Okay. You control the bookends. Mornings are for working on your business, the things that can influence the rest of your business. Role play, presentation practice, lead generation, lead follow-up. When you're new, nothing matters besides those things. That's really how you can spend your whole day. And honestly, if you're like, well, who am I going to role play with? I have a little tip for you. Your lovely AI friend, be it Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude, or whoever, can role play with you. All you do is upload whatever scripts and dialogues you want to use, and you can also tell it, hey, go find the best scripts and dialogues for real estate agents that are out there. And every day at 9 a.m., we're going to role play together. And I use ChatGPT, but I'm sure you can do this with any AI. You can talk directly into it. So you're practicing what you're saying and it will give you feedback. So that's what I recommend for role play. I personally find that a lot easier than trying to like find another person to do it with all the time. Afternoons are for working in your business. And that is what you will see like 99% of agents do is in the morning, typically from 8 or 9 in the morning till lunchtime is when people are lead generating, following up with their clients, practicing, getting their presentations ready, preparing for things. The afternoons are when they're going on listing appointments, buyer consultations, showing homes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to screenshot that, by the way. This is a very simple, what should I do with my day when I'm a new agent? There it is. And obviously it's page 134 to 136 in this bad boy, right? And evenings are for reflection and recharging and rest. It's simple. It's not always perfect, but it is that simple. Don't you love that? I love that. Okay, let's keep it rolling so we don't run out of time. Oh, this is what I had mentioned earlier about the time blocking income producing activities. Now you can make something like this on a spreadsheet. So very simple, right? And you can block out your times and exactly what you're going to do for each thing. Now, and you can see these are really great suggestions. Open house follow-ups, preview homes for a buyer, lead follow-up, prep for listing. These are really great, like generic time blocking. I would recommend that you get a little bit more specific when you actually time block for yourself, meaning if you know, like right here and from 9 to 12, role play, presentation practice, lead generation. I personally would get very specific. I think it makes a big difference in helping you stay focused. So example, from 9 to 9:30, I'm going to role play with ChatGPT. From 9:30 to 10, I'm going to work on my presentation if you want to. From 10 to 12, I'm going to lead generate, whatever it is, right? Get specific because if you're not specific, it can get easy to then get distracted. And then all of a sudden you're like, what was I supposed to be doing? Right? Okay. This is the time block again. There you have it. Success habits to time block. Make sure you are blocking your energy plan, your role play, your lead gen, your lead follow up. Every week, you should be reviewing your goals, creating a plan, reviewing your time block. Like I said, I personally like to keep it kind of like consistent where I know my time block every week. And then you can add details in, but that's pretty simple. Monthly, you should be reviewing your budget. By the way, if you're with Keller Williams Connected, we have RE Profit, which is a service we provide for our agents for free that gives you a budget, a P&L, which stands for profit and loss statement, and all those resources. You should be looking at your pipeline, tracking your budget, quarterly, taxes, education, lead generation review, annually reflecting, reviewing, and making goals. So this is very simple. And again, this is in your book. Okay. Accountability. Everybody needs it. Get a coach as soon as you can. The great thing is if you're a part of our office, we have a built-in coach. So you have someone to work with immediately to help you grow your business and get that like objective perspective. You're going to build it into your business plan. And then you want to protect that time block. So like this schedule right here, you protect that like your life depends on it. When someone says, oh my gosh, can you do blah, blah, blah at this time? That schedule is your boss. And you can schedule in fun, by the way. If you want to be able to go to lunch with somebody or whatever it is, just put it on your calendar. Once a week, I have a lunch time block where I will go to lunch with someone or whatever it is. It protects your sanity and it will make you feel so much more productive. I would love to hear this. This is an interesting question. Do you prefer to use a paper schedule or a digital calendar? And what is helpful about each? And what or who do you use to build accountability into your business? What is most helpful to track? Let's see what you guys say. Both. Oh, Jenna, that's so funny. I can relate to that. I also use both. Digital, easy to take with you. Loretta, absolutely. So it is so funny because I really like paper. I don't know why I really like paper. So I got this little calendar planner at Earth Fair. And it's literally just like the month only, you know what I mean? And for some reason, I like to have that month at a glance where I can like see what's happening the whole month. I can put all my life on there, but I still like very strongly use my Google Calendar as well. I find Google Calendar is really helpful in that you can, invite other people, obviously. So if you need to communicate, like for me, I need to communicate with my spouse so he gets invited to things. So we both see it on the calendar instead of just in my paper calendar. It also gives me reminders. So I like that. But whichever way, I mean, as long as you're using something, that's what matters. Okay. In the last 10 minutes, we gotta hurry. Setting appointments. When someone agrees to meet to discuss their real estate needs with you, you move to the appointment where you clarify their wants and needs and offer your services. Appointments are also special because they mark the beginning of your official relationship with a client. I love it. This is where you understand their needs, show your value, build the relationship. What are we going to do at an appointment? This is your priority. You're going to connect, qualify, and schedule. That's the 3 steps to setting an appointment. Connect, you're using the Ford method. You're building that relationship. You're getting to know them. You're qualifying with LPMAMA, right? Are they ready, willing, and able? That's the most important thing. You want to work with buyers and sellers who are ready, willing, and able to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. If they're not ready, willing, and able, you're not going to enjoy that process, right? um, and of course, then you want to schedule, ask directly for the meeting. If you don't ask, you don't get appointments. So do not just talk to people and be like, cool, let me know when you want to meet. No, we are going to ask for the appointment. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. That is your mantra. Burn it in your brain with sales. If I don't ask, the answer is always no. The only way to get a yes is to ask. And if they say no, just remember, they're not saying no to you. It's like if you have a plate of cookies and you offer someone a cookie and they say no, you're not going to be offended and be like, they hate me. They maybe just didn't feel like a cookie right then, or they weren't ready, or they're full, or whatever, right? Same thing for you. Okay. Oh, why is this? Well, we're missing something here. Okay. Um, that is so weird. Okay. Well, what I want you to think about when you go through qualification based on If they're ready, willing, and able, when you qualify them, you're going to mark them as an A client, a B client, or a C client. So if you notice, think about it. Ready, willing, able. Make sense? So if they're ready, willing, and able, they're an A client. Let's rock and roll. Maybe they're ready, willing, but they don't have good credit. They're not able, or they're able and willing, but they're not ready, right? They're a B client. You need to nurture them. They might be ready in 6 months. Maybe they're ready, but they're not willing or able, or they're willing, but they're not, right. Maybe you need to nurture them for a year. That's a C client. So you want to categorize these people in your database, and it helps you with how to follow up with them. The 4 steps to overcome objections when you set appointments. So you might say, great, let's meet for coffee and we can talk about your needs and your next steps. They might be like, oh gosh, I'm really busy, or, I don't know, I got to talk to my husband, or whatever the thing is. These are your 4 steps coming over objections. You're going to ask questions, you're going to empathize with them, identify the real issue, and offer solutions. Remember, objections are not rejection, they are confusion. Basically, someone saying, I need more information. So let's say if you're like, oh my gosh, okay, great. They're thinking about buying, they've got to get their house organized first or something. And you can say, okay, like, I totally get it. Hey, let me ask you, like, tell me a little bit more. You mentioned that you want to buy, it's April, and you said you really want to move to XYZ school district for your son. Um, how important is that to you? It's a great question to ask. Scale of 1 to 10. How important is it to you to get him in that next school district by the fall? Okay. What needs to happen in order to do that? Find out more about what could be holding them back. You can also ask them directly. Do you mind if I ask, like, help me understand, like, what's holding you back from moving forward? Or is there something that you're concerned about? You can ask these questions and then find out what they say. And then you're going to empathize. Now, here's the difference between empathy and sympathy, you guys. Put it in the chat if you know what it is, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Sympathy is not what we're doing. Sympathy is sort of like being like, oh my gosh, that's a bummer for you, right? Or something. Sympathy. Empathy is where you're actually putting yourself in the other person's shoes and actually envisioning and embodying what are the emotions that they might be feeling right now. Okay. So you're not looking from the outside in, you're putting yourself in their shoes. Another great analogy to think about with this is like, let's say somebody's down in a pit, right? And somebody walks by the pit and looks down, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you fell in that pit. I hope you can get out. That's sympathy. Empathy is somebody walks by and says, oh my gosh, you're down in a pit. And they go down a ladder to get down there with them to help them solve the problem. That's empathy. So if they're like talking about they want to move, they get their son into other school district, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's really important to us. And, it's so, whatever the reason is, it's so important to us because he really wants to play baseball and that's going to help him be on their baseball team and his best friend is there. And, I really don't like the school district that he's in now. Oh my gosh, I can imagine this is really probably been keeping you up at night. And you guys have been talking about it a lot as a family. And I can imagine that's going to feel way less stressful if you can help him make that transition. So I'm empathizing, right? Then identify the real issue. So let me ask you this. We've talked about that you want to move by this time, but that you're like, well, we're not ready to talk about it yet because we want to, get through the end of the school year first. So it sounds to me, is the real issue here that you're just kind of feeling overwhelmed with your schedule right now with the end of the school year? Is that what's going on? Yes. Okay. Well, is it okay? And this is where I ask permission. Here's a great rule of thumb. Never ever give advice without permission. If you give advice without asking permission first, essentially what you're doing is something called going in an unopened door, which means they have not expressed that they're open to you giving your opinion. So you can offer the opinion, but their door's not open, so they're not even receiving it. It's just falling on deaf ears, and they're probably just politely going, oh, and you're not going to get any results with that. So you've got to empathize, identify the issue, and then ask permission before you offer a solution. That looks like, okay, you've identified the issue. Hey, do you mind if I offer a couple of suggestions? Is that okay with you? It is? Okay, great. And then you offer it. And you might say, this is going to be such a great thing. I totally understand. You're feeling overwhelmed at the end of the school year. You really want to get little Jimmy into this other school district by the fall, but you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now. Is it okay with that if I offer you a solution? Yes, it is. Well, here's my thoughts. The sooner that we can start this process, the more likelihood you have in finding the right home. Because really, as the spring market is here and moving into summer, you've got more and more buyer competition. And we're really going to want to try to find that home by no later than July. So you have time to get moved in and closed and everything by X date. So, in order for you to feel less stressed and have more ease in finding the right property and you're not feeling rushed, why don't we just sit down and talk about your must-haves and I can start a basic search for you. There's no pressure, but at least that way you can have the process started. And I'll do all the work, right? Great example of offering a solution. Okay, appointments are where you can showcase your value and build connection. What do you guys think is most important part of info or the most important bit of information about a client that you can uncover in an appointment? Put it in the chat. When you have a conversation, a buyer or a seller appointment, what's the most important bit of information about a client that you can uncover in that appointment? While you guys are typing it in, I'll tell you my personal opinion. It is uncovering their motivation. If you can uncover their true motivation for why they want what they want, you can hit that button over and over and over again to help them get the result that they want. Is there a common objection you're hearing in the market right now? What unanswered questions might it be connected to? I'd love to hear what you guys think about that too. While you guys are putting that in the chat, I have some homework for you. So between now and Wednesday, this is your homework. I want you to write out your basic, like a rough draft of your basic daily schedule. When is your lead gen time for your business going to be? When is your follow-up time going to be? And when is your practice role play script conversation time going to be? Go ahead and make a rough draft of that between now and Wednesday. Email it to me so I can see it. And then I want you to also write down in that rough draft what your go-to conversation framework is that you're going to work on mastering. Is it the Ford framework, LPMAMA, or Feel Felt Found? Which one of those are you like, ooh, I need to really nail that, and that's what I need to focus on. And then the other thing I want to encourage you in is to work on what is your confident appointment ask. Like it's sort of like thinking about like I'm going to burn a phrase into my brain to just always have in my toolbox for when I need to ask for an appointment. This is how I'm going to ask for it. So for example, you have a conversation with someone. You might say, I'd love to sit down and map out a plan with you. Are you available Tuesday or Thursday? That is going to be burned in my brain. So I always have that as my go-to appointment ask. In your homework, I want you to write down in your own words what your basic appointment ask is going to be. And by the way, in the resources, when I send out the recording for this one, you're going to get a document with some basic frameworks and guides for how to ask for appointments. So you can kind of read some of those in order to help you brainstorm if you need to. All right, guys, you now know what to say, when to say it, and how to structure your day. Your success in real estate is not random. It is scheduled. It is intentional. It is on purpose. And that is what today was all about, was helping you get into that purposeful growth to start growing your business. Okay, I'm so excited to hear how this goes for you guys. In addition to that basic homework, I want to challenge you to have 5 real conversations this week with people to start talking about real estate. Use one of those frameworks, Ford, LP Mama, or Fill Out Found, and ask for one appointment. Ask for one appointment if you're licensed. Or if not, just ask to have coffee with someone. That counts as an appointment. You can still do that even as you're in licensing school. I am so excited. We are more than halfway through this series. I hope you guys are loving it. What questions you have? Any feedback, takeaways, ahas? I'd love to hear any feedback, takeaways, or ahas you guys have from today. I love that. I'm looking to find out how motivated they are by sell. The biggest factor here in my local market is the school system. For sure, that's a thing. What step are they in the process? A dry erase calendar in my office. My Google Calendar synced to my phone. Love it. Oh, Joey, I love that. I was reading your comment up above. I'm so glad that was helpful to you, Joey. Yes. We got to get you out of that high stress lifestyle. It is not worth it. It's not worth it long term. Okay, guys, I hope you loved today. I hope you learned a lot. Stay tuned for the next session. I'll see you Wednesday at 11. I'll send this recording out. Work on your homework. You can do it. And I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye.